Hey party people, welcome back to another ChuteCandy.com tutorial. In my previous tutorial I showed you how to make custom brushes, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to effectively use them. I've gone ahead and bought this beautiful image off ice.photo.com. It's from one of my favourite artists, Iconogenic. Check out the description for a link. I'm going to roughly go around and isolate this image. It's a low-key image and it's sitting on black, which would be perfect for my design because my design is sitting on black, so I don't have to go ahead and fully isolate it. If you were to go ahead and fully isolate it, say for example if your design is sitting on white, check out my isolation tutorial. Anyway, once we're happy with our isolation, we can copy and paste, and there we go, we have the girl now sitting in the layer by herself. I'm going to name this layer Girl, and I'm going to go back to my original design and switch off the art layer. I'm going to now drag in this copy of the girl to my artboard, and there we go. If we undo it, and boom. Okay, lovely. Now we're at this stage. We want to create a new layer. This layer I'm going to name Bin. You'll see why in a second. Make sure we've got black selected and go to our brush tool. We also want to make sure our opacity is set to 100 and our flow is set to 100. In my previous tutorial I showed you how to make custom brushes, so I hope you've already gone ahead and made a few. If not, don't worry, check out my description and I'll send you some links to some free brush sites so you can get started on something like this. Anyway, so go ahead and click a nice splatter brush. You can see this splatter is sort of splatting that way. I want all my splats to head in this direction, left-right direction. So I'm going to go to my brush palette. Make sure you got brush presets, brush tip shape on, and I'm simply just going to rotate the brush until I'm happy that it's sort of heading in the right-left direction. Once I'm happy, I can just jump out. Make sure we've got our bin layer selected and just paint a few times over that bin layer until you get something roughly like this. Now what I'm going to do is hold down Control or Command on the Apple and hit this bin layer. As you can see, it's made a selection for all the brushes I just painted. I'm going to jump onto the girl layer, copy and paste, and as you guessed it, for the bin layer it goes to the bin. Now this new layer, I'm going to name it Splatter 1, and I'm simply going to repeat the same steps I've just taken. So I'll create a new layer, let's go into a new brush. As you can see, I've got a fair few brushes set up for this exact sort of thing. Gonna find another splatter. Yes, you can see with this splatter it's got a lot of more blocked in areas. Some areas I want to focus on is her lips and her eyes. So with any of the big blocked in sort of brushes, I want to try and catch her lips and her eyes. So I think we're pretty right around there. So I'm just going to hit paint. Once again, hold down Control. Click on layer 41, which I should have named Bin. Go back to the girl, Control C, Control V, or Apple C, Apple V on the Mac, and simply go back and bin that black layer. I'm going to rename this layer to Splatter 2, actually, and I'll just make sure I fix this layer up. So it's now named Splatter 2. I'm going to move it back roughly so where it's supposed to be. As you can see, it sort of snaps into spot when I get it right. And I'm happy. I'm just going to turn off this girl layer for a second so you can sort of see it starting to take shape. That last little time I got her eyes and I got her lips, which was really what I was after. Once again, I'm going to repeat the same steps. Create a new layer and name it Bin. Click B to bring out your brush palette, and I'm going to go down and pick a different brush this time. Let's pick 2, 4, 7, 6. This one. It's a nice brush. It's a nice big splat. Once again, its direction of the splat's this way, so I want to change that. Go up to my brush palette and simply I want to rotate it around this way. Nope, I've got it right there. Yeah, so now it's heading our left and right. I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, make sure I've got our bin layer selected. I want this one be a nice one to click over the eyes. Make sure we get all the eyes selected. So once I'm happy, let's once again paint that layer. Right. Oh, good one, I had the smudge tool on. With the brush tool this time, try again. 276. Just make sure that's right. Yep, it's heading left and right. And this time, boom, we're happy. Once again, hit Control or Command on the Mac on the bin layer. Makes a selection around our paint stroke. Then go back to the girl layer and copy and paste. Throw the bin layer in the bin and rename this Splattered 3. So go back up to my selection tool. So I'll turn this girl off, and as you can see, I'm starting to get a nice sort of look through here. You can move stuff around like this. Another thing too I like to add is we're just going to make another quick layer. Click on our brush tool. I'm going to go back to my original brushes I used. Click on this one. Once again, make sure it's heading left and right. Okay. I'm just going to turn this layer back on for a second. Back to our eyedropper tool. And simply paint on the layer. What I'll do is quickly change the brush. You don't want to do the same brush too many times. So, just simply click a few times like that. And as you can see, it's starting to really build up. You repeat this step a bunch of times until you're happy. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to delete everything I've just done. And to save some time, I'm just going to turn on my girl layer I've previously done. Actually, sorry, let's turn on all layers. Just turn the ones I don't want on, off. And there you go, that's what I ended up with, something like that. So we're halfway there. For the second part of this tutorial, we're going to concentrate on introducing some color and just generally prettying out the whole image. First things first, we're going to introduce this starry background. So I'll jump straight in right now and do that. As I mentioned before, all of the links are supplied in the description. And I'm simply just going to drag that layer below our girl. I'm going to call this Star. And I'm going to simply copy this layer. I'm going to drag one of the layers down underneath here, and I'm going to set them both to lighten. You can see what I did then when it changed from normal to lighten. It basically masks out any areas that are black now become transparent and saves you a lot of time. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go up to image adjustments and hue and saturation. For this, I'm going to nice green and yellow like that. And I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm going to add a mask on that layer. Only reason I want a mask on that layer is because there's a bit of ugliness up top here. I want a nice big soft brush, fairly low opacity, and just paint on your mask. Just until that's gone. Okay. Are we happy now? Now I'm going to hit Control T or Command T on the Mac and just rotate it so the green is now on there, and it looks like the explosion's sort of coming from the image. And apply. And with this stars copy, or actually the stars original, I'm just going to resize it. Just drop it in there. What I'm now going to do is drop the opacity of these way down. That seems a little bit silly at the moment, but you'll see why in a second. Okay, as you see, that looks a little bit dark. But now I'm going to go in and add some adjustment layers. Oops, no, I didn't want to do that. Adjustment layers, there's this one. And I'm going to add a vibrance layer. For the vibrance settings, I probably want about 50, and I probably want that about 15. Okay, we want a new adjustment layer again, and this time brightness and contrast. For the brightness, I probably want to set around 70, and contrast, let's go around 30. We want to click and drag these above the girl layer. As you can see, we're starting to look nice. I'll then have to go in and adjust these by eye. Start to look good around there. And this purple one, I'll just give it a little bit more. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So you can see it's already starting to take shape. Just that by adding those vibrance and brightness and contrast, it's really giving a lot of punch to the image. The second part of this, just below the girl copy and just above the stars, what I'll do right now is just go hold down Shift, press Control G or Command G on the Mac, and just group those stars layer. So while I've got the stars layer selected, I'm just going to create a new layer, and I want my fill to be white. In a previous tutorial, I showed you how to make custom brushes. One of the custom brushes I made was this nice triangle. It's a little bit too big. I'm going to take it back just under, actually let's take it to 1700 pixels. Simply just going to click. And I'm pretty happy with that. And now I'm just going to call this layer triangles. Triangles. And I want to make a copy of that layer. We're going to hit Control T, Command T on the Mac, and just resize this. Hit Enter. I'm just going to move it into a nice position where it gets some nice overlaps there, and I'm going to knock back the opacity. Now this triangle's copy, I want to copy that again, and I'll drag this down here. I'm going to hit Control T, Command T, right click, and you can't see it's off the page here, but I'm going to flip horizontally, just so it's a little bit different than what you see above. Hit Apply. Let me go back to the original triangles. Once again, copy that. I'm going to drag the new copy over to the side here. Hit Control T and rotate 180 degrees. Just going to hit Enter when I'm happy with that, and I'm going to take the opacity right down on that one. Okay, there, I'm happy. The next thing, actually, before I do that, I'm going to go and group these. Control G and triangles, just to keep this file nice and clean. Now we can click up on the girl layer, click a new layer, and go down to our pen tool. With the pen tool, I'm going to make a nice looping line like this. So let's go ahead, click, click and drag here, click and drag here. If you keep your lines fairly horizontal, you'll get a nice curve. And then simply go up and click around the image. As I said, if you click and drag and get a nice straight line on all of these, you'll end up with a nice curve. Anyway, I'm going to right click on this line. So I'm going to right click on this line and make selection. Feather we want to keep as 0. So, okay, I'm happy with that. I've got white selected, and I'm going to go back to a normal brush. We don't want triangles on that. I'm going to make it probably around 500. Hardness set to 0. Opacity, maybe make it about 15%. And I'm simply just going to add a few highlights in and around that. Okay, next I'm going to introduce a bit of colour. So we want some nice punchy colours. There we go, nice pink. As you can see, I'm just picking these colours randomly. And let's get a nice blue. And just in no order, just go around and add a few highlights around the image. Okay. Once you're happy with the general look, just go back to say any of your tools. Let's say the circle. I'm going to click and move it down. Before I do anything, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to repeat the same steps on this layer. I'll probably once again start with white, do a few highlights around the place with white, and go in and pick some nice bright colours to give some areas of punch. You can also get a bigger brush and drop the opacity. Oh, actually what I'll do is change the colour before I do that. So maybe do some areas, click some areas just to get some nice broader colorings. Anyway, so I'll just deselect that. Now you notice we've got two layers, fairly similar, not simple. On the copy layer, I'm going to hit Control T, I'm going to right click and rotate 180 degrees. Hit Apply, and I'm going to move it until I get somewhere where I'm fairly happy with it. Yep, fairly happy with there. It's still giving some nice focus on the lips, and it's giving some nice focus on the eyes. Okay, before I go any further, I'm just going to make a copy of this girl layer. And all that's doing, copy of the girl layer. And all that's doing is adding a fair bit of punch through the girl. As you can see, I'll just quickly turn it off and turn it back on. Anyway. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go to our brush tool, open up our brush palette. We want spacing set to 1. Just make sure like that, set to 1. Shape dynamics, we want to go down and we want it to fade 100, and minimum roundness at 1%. Scattering actually can be turned off. So they're the settings you want. I'm going to select nice golden yellow. That's FFCC00. And jump onto the pen tool and make a nice curvy line. Something like that. So now before we do anything else, we want to create a new layer. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to name these two layers as swirlies and swirly. And I can actually go ahead and group those two. Let's call the group swirls. Once again, create a new layer. We want to right click on this line and stroke subpath. We're going to make sure that the subpath is not set to pencil, it's set on brush. And simply hit OK. Now we have this beautiful line, as you can see. I'm just going to go in and delete my line. Let's hit delete. Now call this line, and I'm going to copy it. For the copy, I want to now go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Let's set to 9 pixels. I might want to take it up to say anywhere around 15, so just type in 15. The next thing I'm going to do is come back to my line. I'm going to hold down Control and click on my line. I'm going to select a nice white and simply drop the opacity back. I'll just select a soft brush, drop the opacity back, and simply go through and paint some highlights on our line. Once we're happy, hit Control D or Command D to get rid of our marching ants and deselect. And I'm going to bring the line copy above the line. I'm going to group these and call it line. I now want to drag it close enough to the bottom as I can, and maybe resize it. I'm then going to copy that line and drag it to a spot. That's going to look nice. Once again, hit Control T, resize it, and hit Enter, or apply like that. Now, last things last, I'm going to go right to the back, to my background. I'm going to create a new layer. And on my original, I just simply looked at the angle of these and created something roughly to the same angle. Like that. I then took a soft brush, make it around 500, and simply made some highlight areas. And like before, just randomly pick some brighter colours. Just go up to this circle and move this over here. And repeat those same steps. Now I'll just quickly roughly do a few colour changes. And that's it. I just flicked back to my original. As you can see, it's a little bit rough compared to this original, but you should have learned all the techniques you'll need to create your own masterpiece. Until next time, stay cool, and I hope you enjoyed my first advanced tutorial, and there's plenty more to come, so stay tuned.